Hello, boys. I'm sending my video Shabbat Shalom instead of my usual email. I thought you might enjoy it. I recorded for a few minutes, and that is interesting events happening in this week's Parsha in Parsha Haye Sarah. It's interesting for several reasons. First of all, Haye Sarah in Hebrew means life of Sarah. We all know the event when Asher, you and Josh made the golden thing for your mom, for Helene, that for her birthday, because Helene's name is Haye Sarah, and you didn't know how to spell Haye Sarah for the pen. I forget what's called it, and you looked up in the Torah and it says Haye Sarah, so you did it Haye Sarah, life of Sarah, instead of Haye Sarah, which is Helene's name. Helene keeps it and cherishes it a lot, and always tells an interesting story how that and somebody actually looked, Helene herself didn't know for years. Somebody looked at it and says, what does it say? Haye Sarah. So she explained, my kids, my boys, my sons gave it to me for my birthday years ago. They say, well, that's not Haye Sarah, your name is spelled. And that's how she found out. But anyway, in this parasha begins, Haye Sarah, life of Sarah, that Sarah dies. Sarah is 127 years old, and she dies in Kiryat Arba, which is Hebron. And then Abraham came to eulogize Sarah, to bury her. So Abraham came. The question is, where did he come from? If they live in Hebron, is Abraham coming from Beersheba or from Jerusalem? From where? Well, it's very interesting to track where Abraham and Sarah actually live. As husband and wife, they should be living either Beersheba or in Hebron or Jerusalem or where, but not Sarah dies in Hebron, which is Kiryat Arba, and then Abraham comes there from where? From separate places he lives. Strange. So for that, it's interesting. When Abraham first came from Babylon to Israel, to Canaan at that time, he went from Ur-Kasdim, which is near Baghdad, present Iraq, into Haran, which is present Syria, between Syria and Turkey. And from Haran, that's where he left his family, and he went first in Lech Lecha 12:6. He went to, Abraham passed into the land as far as the site of Shechem in the plain of Moreh. Shechem is what Nablus. That's northern Israel, kind of central northern Israel, not too far from Afula, where my cousin Zita lives. That's Shechem, that area. Later on, in Lech Lecha 13:2, it says that he proceeded on his journeys from the south to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at first, between Bethel and Ai. So he came in. Initially, he went to Bethel and Ai. Then he stayed in Shechem, and then he went south to Bethel. That's not Bethlehem; it's Bethel. So Abraham traveled all over Israel, and of course, Midrash says that in the past, traditionally, where a person moved and staked his ground, that became his. So Abraham was commanded to travel essentially as a shepherd. It was naturally for them to travel all over the land of Israel, and therefore that's the claim to the land, by physically residing on the land. That's a halachic claim that people have on the possessions, on real estate. So Abraham did, and some of the places I mentioned here. Then Abraham also, if you look on 13, also Lech Lecha 13:18, Abraham moved his stand and came and dwelled in the plains of Mamre, which are in Hebron. And he built there an altar for Hashem. So Hebron, that's where now he lives. And later on, in also Lech Lecha 14:13, somebody came and told Abraham, who lived in the plains of Mamre, which is Hebron. So he keeps living in Hebron. If we skip through the pages and we go to Vayera 21, it says that Abraham journeyed from there in the regions of the south and settled between Kadesh and Shur, and he sojourned in Gerar. That's near Gaza. That's to the western side, southwestern side of Israel. So he was all over. And Abraham had said to Sarah, so both he and Sarah living in Gerar. There was an issue with Abimelech, as you know. Um, and then during the issue between shepherds problems, they made a covenant, Abraham and the king of the Philistines, and they made his covenant in Beersheba. That's what Beersheba is known, to make this famous covenant. And he planted an eshel in Beersheba, and there he proclaimed the name of God, the name of Hashem. So Beersheba, he planted eshel. Some Russian commentary said the eshel can be translated as a hotel. Maybe he built a hotel there, to like a house of study, something he did significant as the blessing of Hashem. Then later on comes Akedah, where Abraham is supposed to sacrifice his son Isaac. Of course, thank God it didn't happen. It was a test. But that Akedah happened to be in Jerusalem, in Mount Moriah. That is Jerusalem. That's the site of our temple, which was destroyed, and presently the Dome of the Rock is built there about 1,400 years ago. So that's where sacrifice on that stone of Isaac was taking place. So Abraham went from where he lived, and he lived area. Perhaps it looks like he came from Hebron. His main residence was kind of Hebron. He came from there to Jerusalem for the sacrifice. And after he did the sacrifice, or he didn't do sacrifice, after the switch sacrifice into the animal, and Isaac is now safe and free, Abraham, to thank God for this ordeal that he passed, he went to Beersheba. Well, the next line in today's Parsha Haye Sarah says Sarah was 127 years old and she died in Kiryat Arbaim in Hebron. So, Midrash, Rashi, and Ramban, Nachmanides, disagree about sequence of events. One version is like this. So, they live in Hebron. If you think about the map, Jerusalem is north, then a little bit south, roughly an hour drive by car, 3 days of walk, is Hebron. And further south, maybe half an hour drive, a little bit shorter distance, maybe 1 day of work, is Beersheba. So Jerusalem, Hebron, Beersheba. So if you want to go from Jerusalem to Beersheba, you would be passing through Hebron normally. It's on the way. So Abraham has a Akedah in Jerusalem. Sarah lives in Hebron, a little bit south. When Sarah she heard about Akedah, she was so emotionally moved, obviously, that she moved north. She went to Jerusalem to see what's going on with her son and her husband. In the meantime, Abraham is moving from Jerusalem south, from Mount Moriah, Jerusalem south, not directly to Hebron, but not even stopping in Hebron, but bypassing it, and keep going on to Beersheba in order to go to the altar where he built before to thank God. And then he thinks, and then come back to Hebron. So as he does that, Sarah is moving with her entourage north and missing him. They probably took different roads. So Sarah arrives. Sarah is, let me see, how is that? No, in that version, she stays in Hebron. Abraham keeps going to Beersheba, bypassing Hebron. Sarah learns about news, dies, and Abraham goes back from Beersheba to Hebron, and that's where he buries Sarah. And then he stays in Hebron, continue living there. Another version was that no, Sarah lived in Beersheba with Abraham, and as Abraham is going from Jerusalem home to Beersheba, Sarah is on the way north towards Hebron to Beersheba to see what's going on, and they miss each other. So as she ends to Hebron, one of their summer homes, if you will, and stays there temporarily to keep on going, Abraham bypasses Hebron, goes to Beersheba to thank God, to sacrifice. In the meantime, Sarah dies in Hebron, and as Abraham returns back to Hebron, and then he buries Sarah there. So there's a third version, which I don't recall, but it's kind of interesting as you're learning. As I know, Asher always looks at his Shabbat table in a good drash about the Parsha. So you can probably clean it up and look a little bit more in what I did. Look in commentaries by Rashi, Ramban, and Midrash, and you can see what actually was happening. It's quite interesting. So where did they actually live? And the moral here is that they lived all over Eretz Israel. The kind of main residences were Hebron, then a little bit north, Shechem, in between near Jerusalem, which is Ai and Bethel, in Beersheba, in Gerar, near Gaza border. So a lot of places in Israel. But the final, that explains the first words of how come that Sarah dies in Hebron and Abraham comes there to bury her. Like, didn't they live together? So that explains they did live together. He was away in Jerusalem for Akedah, and indeed they live in Hebron. He's coming back to Hebron. Sarah dies. And there's another version that Sarah actually died many years after that. And then the question will be, well, if that's the case and live in Hebron, how come Abraham then came to Hebron? He's already in Hebron with her. And one of the explanations here, the expression he came to Hebron means not he physically came to Hebron, but like we say colloquially speaking, so like I come to realize, I came to realize that that's what happened. So he came to Hebron, meaning he finalized the events of what happened in Hebron. That's the expression that the came to Hebron means. It's another version. I'm not entirely clear on that, but that's another interesting version. Asher might be interested, of course. Today, Josh and Iris and Maya and Yoni coming from dinner. We'll probably talk about it a little bit. And maybe Adam and you and Allison sitting at your dinner table might be interesting to pull up the copy of your Torah book and read up. That's the Haye Sarah, which is Genesis chapter 23. Quite interesting. So with that, boys, Shabbat Shalom. Talk soon. Don't forget to call. We'll always love to hear from you. Mizrach Hashem. We'll look forward to your calls. Love you. Shabbat Shalom.